EU enterprises optimistic about business prospects in Vietnam. Vietnam and Japan to enhance economic relations. Hello and welcome to this edition of BizLine brought to you by VTV International. You're with me, Phát. And as usual, before we begin our program, let's check out what the economic highlights during the past week are. About 76% of European enterprises operating in Vietnam have said they are optimistic about business prospects in 2017, according to a Business Climate Index or BCI survey for the fourth quarter of 2016, conducted by the European Chamber of Commerce in Vietnam or Eurocham. Approximately 56% of respondents answered that they will continue to use Vietnamese workers this year and will expand their scale along with recruiting more workers. In addition, EU enterprises consider Vietnam the gateway through which to approach the larger market, namely ASEAN, through the establishment of the ASEAN Economic Community or AEC. The survey also showed that 73% of respondents have had good business results in Vietnam and only 5.5% had worse results than expected. A range of developing countries, including Vietnam, have emerged as leaders in a global race to switch to sustainable energy by 2030, by boosting their policies to help improve people's access to reliable, affordable, and clean power, according to a report by the World Bank. Some 40% of the 111 countries surveyed by the World Bank has strong policies to improve people's access to reliable and affordable energy, make industries and homes more energy efficient, and increase countries' use of renewable energy. Countries that have emerged as leaders alongside developed countries include China, India, Vietnam, South Africa, Brazil, Mexico, and Turkey. However, the countries need to do more to promote the use of clean energy and solve global warming. The VN Index has hit a record high of 715 points for the first time in the last 9 years on Monday. According to experts, this is a sign of increasing cash flow. Cash flow into Vietnam's stock market this year is 1.5 times higher than last year's, reaching some $132 million to $175 million per session. Investors forecast positive development of the market in time to come. Yet, experts affirm that there will also be declining sessions in the growing trend. Investors should balance cash flows and stocks to avoid risks. Last year, only 12 instances of Vietnamese food products failing to meet Australian standards were recorded, half of the previous year's figure. The Vietnam Trade Office in Australia, under the Ministry of Industry and Trade, on Monday announced that Vietnamese exporters had not violated the export standards for food to Australia in December. The Australian Department of Agriculture conducts quality checks of imported food products in batches in the same month to determine high or medium risk products for citizens. The violated batches are not allowed to be sold in Australia, while importers have to destroy or re-export the batches to the countries of their origin under the supervision of Australian authorities. The subsequent batches from such exporters are then checked to assess if they meet Australian standards. Vietnamese food products exported to Australia were exported to be safe from chemicals, contaminants, and toxins after being subjected to random checkups. The price of trout fish in the Mekong Delta region has continued to increase by 1,000 Vietnam dong to 25,000 Vietnam dong or $1.2 per kilo. However, there may be a lack of trout fish for sales. Among the 5,000 hectares of trout fish farming area in the Mekong Delta region, 30% belongs to farmers. Each month, on average, 100 trout fish enterprises need 120 to 140,000 tons of trout fish input for processing. However, the supply can only meet 30% of the demand. Due to the lack of traffic, the price of traffic has gone up and is expected to reach 26,000 Vietnam dong per kilo. Although the price of traffic is increasing, local authorities are encouraging farmers to strengthen their links with enterprises to guarantee stable output prices and avoid market volatility. As of January 2017, Vietnam has channeled almost $21.4 billion into 1,188 projects across 70 countries and territories. An official report from the Ministry of Planning and Investment has said, of the total, $5.12 billion and $2.89 billion went respectively to 270 and 191 projects in the two neighboring countries of Laos and Cambodia. Other investment destinations included Russia and Africa. The majority of the Vietnamese investment went to the sectors of agro, forestry, fishery, telecommunication, mining, and healthcare services. We have just reviewed some of the economic highlights over the past week. Up next, in our crosstalk, we'll talk about the Vietnam-Japan economic relation under the context of the Japan's Emperor and Empress visit to Vietnam. Vietnamese Prime Minister Nguyễn Xuân Phúc has said Vietnam wants Japan to be its top foreign investor. He made the comments at a business forum as part of Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's official visit to Vietnam. Japan has been among the top investors of Vietnam over the past year. Following the Japanese Prime Minister's visit in January, Japanese Emperor Akihito and Empress Michiko are scheduled to visit Vietnam next week. The high-ranking visits are expected to further Vietnam-Japan business relations. To have a better understanding of the relations and future prospects, we are joined here today by Mr. Ando Kengo, General Secretary of the Japanese Business Association in Vietnam. First, let's take a look at the following clip.
40 years after Vietnam and Japan established trade relations, Japan is now one of Vietnam's top trading partners. The two countries are estimated to have a total trade turnover of $60 billion in 2020. Trade turnover grew by 14% every year on average over the past 10 years. In 2006, the figure stood at nearly $10 billion and reached nearly $27 billion in the first 11 months of 2016. Vietnam exports revenue to Japan was estimated at nearly $15 billion in 2016, making Japan Vietnam's second largest importer after the US, according to Vietnam Customs General Department. Textiles and garments top Vietnam's export goods to Japan, followed by machinery, equipment, timber, and wood products.
Mr. Ando Kengo, thank you very much for joining our BizLine program today.
My pleasure to be here.
Japanese enterprises are paying more and more interest in the Vietnamese market. Can you share the reasons behind this?
Firstly, I'd like to indicate that in Vietnam, a large number of excellent workforces with relatively low wage. And secondly, I'd like to show my opinion that in Vietnam, the infrastructure on both hard and soft have been developed modestly. Vietnam is so close to Japan. For example, the flight from Hanoi to Tokyo, the capital of Japan, in the shortest time, it only takes about 4 hours. And in the southern west of Japan, there is Okinawa Island, and also the northern part, there is a big Hokkaido Island. Do you know that the distance between Hanoi to this southwest Okinawa Island to Hanoi is as same as the distance between this southern West Island to northern part of Hokkaido. Vietnam has the largest student who study Japanese language. particularly high level of Japanese language among all ASEAN member countries. Compared with the aged and population shrinking country of Japan, Vietnam has a large and young, huge domestic population.
At the beginning of this year, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has paid an official visit to Vietnam, and Emperor Akihito will be coming in the next few days. So how do you think these visits will have impact on the economic relations between the two countries?
In the next week, in the first time of our bilateral history, our emperor and empress are coming to Vietnam. Those are very big events, not only to Vietnam, but also to Japan. Such visit, of course, affects very positively to develop the friendship between Vietnam and Japan. So such friendship also could have the good impact to enhance the trade, business, and investment between our two countries.
Earlier this month, 15 Japanese enterprises visited a farm in the northern province of Vĩnh Phúc. They took a look at the high-tech agricultural production of vegetables such as sprouts, lettuce, and onions.
The management at this farm is really good, all the way from production to packaging and distribution. Not many Vietnamese or even Japanese can do all of these things well. I have made about 10 film trips to Vietnam. We want to open a farm like this in Vietnam and are trying to find a suitable location.
While in the past, the majority of Japanese enterprises investing in Vietnam was in the manufacturing sector, now more enterprises are eyeing non-manufacturing sectors with agriculture as a focus in the future, according to Japan External Trade Organization, or ZTRO, in Vietnam. Japan was the second biggest foreign investor in Vietnam after the Republic of Korea last year. According to the statistics from the Ministry of Planning and Investment, 341 newly registered Japanese FDI projects worth nearly $2.6 billion were recorded in 2016, an increase of more than 40% compared to 2015.
Chúng tôi mong muốn rằng Nhật Bản sẽ là nhà đầu tư lớn nhất vào Việt Nam chứ không phải ở nước khác. Tôi xin nói lại một lần nữa, đối với người Việt Nam chúng tôi, các doanh nghiệp Việt Nam rất tin tưởng vào cái sự trung thực, tinh thần làm việc căng mẫn của doanh nghiệp Nhật Bản, và vì vậy tôi đã báo cáo với ngài Shinzo Abe rằng là các doanh nghiệp Việt Nam mà tôi biết được có đối tác chiến lược là người Nhật Bản thì họ rất phấn khởi vì các bạn làm ăn rất đứng đắn và tốt đẹp.
Meanwhile, there are some 35 Vietnamese enterprises investing in Japan with a total investment of some $7 million. These include the Shinchao, or Hello Bread shop in Takada Nobaba, Tokyo, Japan.
I just moved here. There aren't many restaurants in this area. But then I found Shinchao. I came on December the 20th and was invited to the shop. The breakfast I had there was good, so I kept coming back after.
The shop has even been featured in the fourth biggest newspaper in Japan, Chunichi, thanks to the unique and pleasant taste of the bread, and more importantly, the efforts of their two Vietnamese owners.
Japan has been among the top FDI investors into Vietnam. So what are the benefits or the advantages of investing in Vietnam?
As you know, we are the manufacturing-based developed country in the world. So, first of all, the workforce with excellent ability and young age are so attractive to our company, particularly the manufacturing business. Some years ago, the most attractiveness of Vietnam that can provide is such workforce. In addition to such attractiveness of workforce, now the huge size of domestic market of Vietnam is also very attractive for Japanese companies.
Can you share with us the history of the inflow of Japanese investment into Vietnam during the past decades?
Based on my understanding, the investment from Japan to Vietnam could be separate three phases those days from this 1993 to nowadays. The first phase of the economic relationship could be from the restart of the year and the beginning of the change of the century in around 2000. My understanding is that in this phase one, many Japanese companies which were targeting the domestic demand, like motorbike and automotive or some commodity, had started their business. And after the 2000 millennium, this could be categorized as phase 2. In this phase 2, there are many Japanese companies which have invested in Vietnam to seek the opportunity on export from Vietnam toward other countries. And I guess now belong to the phase 3. Of course, the activities for export from here to other countries are very active. And in this phase 3, in addition to such activity on export, many Japanese are interested in the domestic Vietnam market. However, compared with phase 1, the trait of current phase is that not only big companies, but also some small and medium enterprises in Japan also have the interest in the Vietnam domestic market.
Prime Minister Nguyễn Xuân Phúc once said in a business forum that Vietnam wants Japan to be its top investor. So what should Vietnam do to attract more investment from Japan?
The issues now I'd like to talk is that the quality of government administration providing toward business. Yeah, we know that Vietnam had been effort to develop some hard and soft infrastructure, and on the area of soft, Vietnam is very eager to develop some law and degree related to business. On this other side, to enforce such law and degree, there are still some problems. That we have gotten some opinions and sometimes complaints from our membership. That even though the law indicates such points, the staff of government does not understand well or misunderstand the content of law.
Let's talk about the Japanese Business Association in Vietnam. So how many members are there in the JBAV, and in which fields do they operate?
At the beginning of this month, the total membership of our member is 655. And among this number, about half of members are occupied by the manufacturing. We have 6 groups based on the area of business.
Why are there such a large number of Japanese manufacturing firms working in Vietnam?
Huge workforce with excellent skills in Vietnam. This is number one. And secondly, compared with other countries, Vietnam's infrastructure has been developed modestly. Actually, there is some space to develop more. However, compared with other countries with more low wage, I think the infrastructure on both hard and soft has been modestly developed.
Mình là Nguyễn Xuân Bách, hiện đang là sinh viên năm cuối chương trình đào tạo Việt Nhật của trường Đại học Bách khoa Hà Nội. Hiện tại thì mình đang chuẩn bị cho đồ án tốt nghiệp của mình và vào tháng 10 tới sẽ sang Nhật Bản làm việc. Hiện tại thì ở Hà Nội thì các doanh nghiệp Nhật Bản thì đang tới để tổ chức các sự kiện job fair rất là nhiều. Vài lần tham dự các sự kiện này thì mình đã tìm ra được công việc thích hợp với mình.
Bach is the only one among many students who are going to Japan to work after graduating at the Vietnam-Japan Joint Program at the School of Information and Communication Technology under Hanoi University of Science and Technology. Last year, 70% of graduates from the program went to work in Japan right after their graduation. More and more Japanese enterprises are looking to recruit foreign employees to combat the lack of domestic labor force.
Theo cái số liệu của Bộ Khoa học Công nghệ và Thương mại Nhật Bản METI thì đến năm 2020 là họ thiếu khoảng độ 50.000 cái vị trí việc làm về IT tại thị trường Nhật Bản. Nhưng mà trên thực tế tôi gặp các công ty của Nhật Bản sang tuyển dụng thì cái con số đó lớn hơn rất nhiều.
To meet Japanese enterprises' demand, the program puts a heavy focus on Japanese lessons. But language capacity alone surely won't meet Japanese requirements.
Thì cái chương trình đào tạo này nó gắn với cả cái kỹ năng ITSS, đấy là cái chuẩn kỹ năng của Nhật Bản. Tức là sinh viên học theo chương trình này thì rất là sát với cái yêu cầu về tay nghề của thị trường Nhật Bản.
Last year, for the first time, the number of foreign laborers in Japan exceeded 1 million, with an increase of 20% compared to 2015, according to the Japanese Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare. Among foreign workers in Japan, Vietnamese workers ranked second, accounting for 16%, an on-year increase of more than 50%.
So there's obviously room for improvement. So what changes do Japanese firms want to see in terms of the Vietnamese labor force?
In the culture of Japanese business, many manager and so representative of company expect labor force to keep working as long as they can. This is also the requirement to get the insight and knowledge that is needed in their company. In Japan, so workers just belong to one company in a long time. Compared with such a tradition, so it seems the years the Vietnamese workers can keep working in one company seems a little short.
Japan is well known worldwide for its rich and unique culture, customs, and traditions. Understanding this is an advantage for Vietnamese businesses when working with Japanese counterparts and Vietnamese workers at Japanese enterprises. Our reporter talked to an expert who has some 30 years researching Japanese culture to crack the Japanese culture codes.
Một trong những nghi lễ có thể nói là không thể thiếu được trong giao tiếp đối với người Nhật Bản, đó là vấn đề trao đổi danh thiếp. Hơi cúi đầu chút về phía đối diện, và khi trao danh thiếp cần phải đưa cả hai tay, cần phải đưa phần tên họ đọc được để cho người đối diện cảm nhận được đấy là vị trí đọc được trong danh thiếp, và tuyệt đối tránh đưa vào túi, đặc biệt tránh nữa là đưa vào túi quần. Điều đó là người Nhật quan niệm đấy là những thái độ không tôn trọng mà là rất bất lịch sự. Cầm danh thiếp sau, chúng ta lại để lên mặt bàn trong quá trình thương thảo giao tiếp.
The expert stressed the positioning of name cards depend on the position of the owners. The most senior partners' name cards are placed higher than others. If you are not sure about their positions, you better put it in a horizontal line. That's for greetings. There's no difference when it comes to table manners.
Trên bàn tiệc cần tránh một điều là không được tự rót bia rót rượu cho mình. Bởi lẽ theo quan niệm của người Nhật Bản, tự rót bia rót rượu cho mình đây là một hành động hơi lạ, nếu không muốn nói là không được lịch sự cho lắm.
Instead, you should pour a partner's glass first, then wait for them to fill yours. So what should Vietnamese workers keep in mind?
Buổi sáng là bao giờ đến công ty sớm hơn bình thường. Đến đúng giờ có nghĩa là đến muộn. Khi mà trong công ty mà có một khách hàng nào đấy đến chẳng hạn, không ai biết là khách hàng nào, nhưng tất cả mọi người đều đứng lên cúi đầu chào.
So you have the experience working in both countries, Vietnam and Japan. Maybe can you share with us the common trait or similarity in the business culture between the two countries?
First, I'd like to raise here that both Vietnamese and Japanese make the importance on uniting the people and uniting the community, and also prioritize to keep harmonized, leading to other points that so both people also have the preference to avoid the conflict. So sometimes some other people just prioritize to state logically and with some strongness. However, both Vietnamese and Japanese, they like to keep their softness.
So what are the major differences between the two countries' culture that businesses should pay attention to?
From the view of Japanese, I would like to raise 2 points here as a different. The first different is Vietnamese people prioritize the family so much. So in Japan, sometimes the people prioritize their work compared with some schedule or situation on the family. The secondary is actually I feel in general Vietnamese people has strong curiosity and objectiveness. It seems difficult to keep interest in some same objective by Vietnamese people. And they are easily change their curiosity. This is different from the Japanese behavior.
So how should Vietnamese workers keep in mind the attitude, the behavior when working with Japanese firms?
In the process of developing our economy in Japan, we have developed our maybe own way to proceed our business. In case the Vietnamese business people and company wish to strengthen their relationship with Japanese business, I would like to raise 3 issues as traits of Japanese companies. One is many times said that it takes a long time to make one decision. We prioritize the harmonization so much. Many times, Japanese business person do not mention obviously. Some mention about obscure. Not mention yes or no about white or black.
Yeah.
Keep just hearing what this Japanese, what is the true point this Japanese would like to say. Could be the importance of behavior.
Once again, thank you very much, Mr. Ando Kango, for joining our BizLine program today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vietnam is stepping up efforts to improve its business climate, and Japanese firms are showing more interest and confidence in the country. Thanks to this, together with the recent high-level visits to Vietnam, we have reasons to believe in the possibility of Japan becoming Vietnam's top investor one day and the feasibility of $60 billion trade turnover target between the two countries made possible. And that also wraps up this edition of This Line. Thank you very much for watching. You can always rewatch our program at vtv4.vn or youtube.com/vtv4go. From our team here in Hanoi, until next time.